Hello and welcome to another episode of the Diet Obsessed podcast. I am your host, Veronica Santarelli. I am a certified personal trainer, nutrition and weight loss coach, and this podcast is for those of us who are just obsessed with everything related to improving health and longevity, with a special emphasis on food, fitness, and diet culture. All right, let's get into the show. And I'm noticing the cat is right behind me. Now, you're all already supporting this show, which I appreciate greatly. Thank you so much for subscribing to this tier. The only other ways you can really support the show is by leaving a rating or review. That just means leave some stars, leave a comment wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps us. I also have a VIP tier for those of you that want extra juicy, extra personal content that happens once a month. And I really appreciate your support. All right, everyone, let's get right into my mental health check-in. So it is Monday morning. It's actually 6:30 in the morning. I thought I was going to do this yesterday on Sunday, but I just wanted a day. I just needed a day between episodes, and I just decided to do a lot of meal prep yesterday because my friends are coming into town this week. My friends, Mike and Kathy. And so my mental health is good. I am very excited to have them in town and, to have some guests in our home. We love hosting people, and Kathy and Mike are the perfect people to have because they're just like family. I've known Mike since, like second grade. I'll never forget, I just learned a swear word in French, and I said it in the middle of, I think we were in second grade, maybe first grade. And I said it, I thought I was all cool, like saying a French word, a swear word in French. And of course he raises his hand and tells on me because he can speak a little French. His family is French. Kathy can speak fluent French. She's actually lives in Canada most of the time and also has a home in Maine. But they were really like my safe people in high school. High school's, I think, hard for everybody. Again, one of the reasons I didn't want to have kids is so I didn't have to go through that high school experience again and live through my children going through the high school experience. Oh my God. I can't imagine going through that again through my children's eyes. But yeah, Kathy and Mike were always kind of just people that I always felt comfortable with, and we would hang out the most in high school, and Mike's parents were the cool parents that let us drink in their house and have parties, and so we'd always end up partying there. So they're definitely my hard partying friends. We're definitely going to drink a lot and have some fun, and luckily, so the only reason I can tape this morning, is because one of my personal training clients canceled this week because he's traveling all week, which I have to say I was very, very happy about because so he's my Monday, Wednesday, Friday client. So today I still got up at 4 so I could wash my hair, work out, and get this done. And then I have, my other jobs later, but tomorrow I have my personal training clients on Tuesday and Thursday this week, and Kathy and Mike get in on Wednesday. So I am taking some of the nights off from my other job so that, I can't take any time off from the new company that I started with. That's from 8 a.m. to 4:30. So that's fine. They can do their thing during the day, and I'll have most of the nights with them. And then this weekend, we're going to go to Antelope Canyon and Horseshoe Bend, which are two places I have been wanting to visit forever. And I'm so excited that we're finally doing it. As all of you know, I love nature, and these are those slot canyons. And if you haven't seen pictures of them, look at Google slot canyons. There's some really famous ones in Utah. And then these are pretty well known, Antelope Canyon. So the way the sun comes into these just very narrow canyons, it's so beautiful. I'm hoping that we get in there once the sun's hitting right. I really don't know I probably should have Googled what time of day that is, but I didn't. I kind of took the times that were available because you have to have tours. It's Navajo land. And so there's a couple companies that do it. And so we booked some tours. And so we'll have two tours. One's at 9:30, one's at 2:30. And then we'll try to do Horseshoe Bend in between. And then I think Mike and Kathy want to go check out the Grand Canyon. So they'll be doing that. But yeah, so I'm excited for them to be in town. And I still have this eye thing going on. It's so annoying. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can kind of see it from here, how red it is, and just not good. I think it's because I use this mascara too long. I'm throwing it away. And ironically, I just washed all my brushes just to make sure this didn't happen. And ironically, here we are. So, but again, like because Mike and Kathy are my, just I'm so close to them. I don't have the same pit I normally would have. I did cancel a brunch yesterday. I was supposed to have brunch yesterday with a friend, actually a friend that I was talking about on my last VIP episode. So she and I are trying to reconcile. So I'll have an update on my next VIP episode about that. But that's also when my mental health's been better is, for mending our bridges. So that's always a good thing. But I talked about how I don't want to overextend myself anymore. And so yesterday I was supposed to do, have this brunch at like 12:15, and I was like, okay, I could go with no makeup on and again, who cares what I look like? This girl's seen me without makeup many times. I'm not worried about her judging me. It was more like I had so much to do and my eye wasn't feeling great. And I'm like, you know what? This is just not the right time for this. So I'm going to cancel. It was raining out. I'm just like, and I was able to get a lot of cleaning done. I was able to get a lot of meal prep done. And so I'm just glad that I just took that time for myself yesterday. I thought I might get a podcast done, but I just ended up doing a lot of cooking, which I'll tell you about in a second. But yeah, so mental health is good. I've got 2 really busy days before they come in, and then I got all kinds of good food. I got some really good quality cheeses, and we're gonna make dinner for them when they fly in, so they can just relax once they get here. And ooh, the dinner's gonna be really good. So I'll talk about that pretty soon. Now, another thing that I have kind of fallen into, which is definitely not good for my mental health, I would say, I've been getting into these algorithms of, murder videos and Karen. I mean, I'm the murder mysteries. Now, these are ones that are solved. Like you see these police interrogate these killers, and I think one of the reasons I've been so fascinated by like the Karen Reed trial is, one of these people killed him, right? And you see these people testifying and lying. Obviously, someone's lying, and to know that someone's capable of something like that. And I think that's why these videos are fascinating to me. Like and you get these confessions, and you see these people that will confess, and some of the reasons that they commit these murders, there's no good reason, right? They seem like good people. Sometimes the people that were trying to help them were literally just trying to help them. And then they get murdered. No good deed goes unpunished, right? That whole saying. But there was this one, oh my God, this woman, and this wasn't a murder one. This was a drunk Karen video. This woman was on a business trip. And I think this spoke to me because it was a good, hey Veronica, don't get too drunk before you get on a plane, because I definitely have. Of course, you all have heard some of my stories. There have been a couple times where those lounges where you get free drinks, free food, I've definitely had one too many. And luckily, I am not a crazy drunk person. This woman, they didn't let her board the plane, and she was on a business trip. And she's fighting these police officers. She urinated all over herself. She's hurling I mean, she is out of her mind. She gets hogtied and carried out of the airport, probably loses her job. But can you imagine getting that drunk on a business trip? I mean, it's insane. It's a good lesson to just remind yourself, because there are so many jerks flying these days. It's a good reminder to just check yourself, like stop fighting with people, stop, because I always have to check myself. I have a big ego, I have a temper. It's not worth it. It is not worth it to drink to excess, lose your flight, lose your job. Oh my God. So anyway, I should probably stop watching these videos, because these videos probably aren't good for my mental health. But, after I work so much, I'm like, I just need mindless entertainment and to see reality of something. I don't know. This is what I end up watching. But anyway, that is my mental health check-in of the week. I hope all of you have had a great mental health week yourselves. All right, let's get into a diet culture media moment. So there was a People article written about Victoria Beckham talking about her eating disorder, how she went from porky posh to skinny posh. And, a lot of it had to do with the media's scrutiny of her body image, especially when she gave birth to her oldest son, Brooklyn. That was back in 1999. She said you lose all sense of reality. I've been everything from porky posh to skinny posh. And, I would, I can understand how people that are on TV pick themselves apart, right? I mean, she said she was weighed on national television when Brooklyn was 6 months old. And now Posh Spice, like, to look at her now, she's so painfully thin. And the picture that they have posted in here, this was right after she had her child. She looks awesome. She looks really good with some meat on her bones, because now she's just so thin. Um, I don't know. I just think as we age, we do need a little bit more fat on us. It's just, it helps give us a little collagen. She was constantly told, you're not good enough. She said that's something that she struggled with her entire life. I do love her style. I love her clothing line. And of course, the fashion industry is pretty brutal overall when it comes to women and weight, and especially in that couture world where 0 to 4 is the expectation as far as sizes go. She said she's a very fussy eater. She likes things to be cooked in a very simple way. She doesn't like oils and butters and sauces. She said to most restaurants, I'm probably the worst nightmare. Now, does she not like it? Or does she not like it because she feels like it's going to make her gain weight, right? How can you not like butter? Now, granted, I don't like mayo. There could be something to that, right? If you are used to eating very, very clean with very little oil, fat, then sometimes when you go to a restaurant and you do experience what most people love, it can be a lot, right? She adopted a very healthy way of eating when she joined the Spice Girls, because you're on tour, you're expecting so much from your body. She decided that from that point to really try to eat in a very clean way with lots of vegetables and lots of fish. She said, I don't have any dairy at all. She said, I haven't eaten meat since I was about 7 years old. She said, in the way that I eat, I'm very, very disciplined. But she said she doesn't deny herself anything. She said, I expect a lot from myself being a working mom with 4 children. I work out a lot. I eat very healthfully. That's just who I am. But she said she did struggle with an eating disorder while she was, in the height of public scrutiny for her. And again, I think that's a lot of people do struggle with that. I mean, Brandy Glanville, I had some notes on Brandy Glanville because, Brandy Glanville is someone who used to be a model, got on TV, got on reality TV, and Brandy Glanville is beautiful. And now she's dealing with that thing in her face, whatever it is. They can't really tell. It might be a bacteria. And I don't know. Part of me wonders is because she did so much to her face, I think because she took anything that anyone would give her that was free, I think she just did too much. And I think also stress. I think what Brandy's dealing with is the culmination of a lot of things that haven't served her well, right? She has partied very hard in her life and done a lot of drugs and drank a lot of alcohol. She does not have good nutrition. She was talking about how she did finally gain some weight back, but she's not doing it the right way. She's eating Taco Bell and fast food. When you're trying to heal something from your skin and your skin is not doing well, feeding yourself with fast food, is that the best way to go? I mean, I, anyway, so that's my judgment on her for sure. But that she's gaining weight, she's doing it in a way that does not serve her well. And I think honestly, I think a lot of her own public scrutiny, looking at herself on TV, wanting to stay young and beautiful, all of that took a toll on her, made her want to do all of these things to try to stay young and beautiful. And I think she went a little too far in some ways. So, but if I were her, I'd probably be doing keto or something and trying to starve this thing out of my face. I don't know. I, I mean, not that she has a lot of room. Well, again, she talks about how she does need to gain some weight. And she's so tall. She's so tall. She definitely does need to consume a lot of calories, I'm sure, just to maintain her weight. But she's just not eating quality, nutrient dense foods. Again, this is definitely a judgment, but again, when you are struggling with your health, I think that's when you want to be putting good things into your body. Anyway, that is my diet culture media moment of the week. I hope all of you are enjoying some good diet culture media moments yourselves. All right, let's get into some nutrient news. Now, I'm curious, what do all of you think about this whole Tylenol linking to autism that is now being touted by the MAHA administration? Again, I'm not a parent. If I was pregnant, there's no way I could not pay attention to this and would probably, even though there's a lot of studies showing it's safe for pregnant women, I probably wouldn't. So I was curious just to see what the FDA how the FDA responded to this. And so the FDA is taking action to make this is what they came out with. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration today initiated the process for a label change for Tylenol and similar products to reflect evidence suggesting that the use of acetaminophen by pregnant women may be associated with an increased risk of neurological conditions such as autism and ADHD in children. So the FDA is taking action to make parents and doctors aware of a considerable body of evidence about the potential risks associated with acetaminophen. said FDA Commissioner Marty Makary. Even with this body of evidence, the choice still belongs to parents. The precautionary principle may lead many to avoid using acetaminophen during pregnancy, especially since most low-grade fevers don't require treatment. It remains reasonable, however, for pregnant women to use acetaminophen in certain scenarios. Evidence in recent years has suggested a correlation between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and subsequent diagnosis of conditions like autism and ADHD. Multiple large-scale cohort studies, including the Nurses' Health Study 2 and the Boston Birth Cohort, find the association. Some studies have described that the risk may be most pronounced when acetaminophen is taken chronically throughout pregnancy. It is important to note that while an association between acetaminophen and neurological conditions has been described in many studies, a causal relationship has not been established, and there are contrary studies in the scientific literature. It is also noted that acetaminophen is the only over-the-counter drug approved for use to treat fevers during pregnancies, and high fevers in pregnant women can pose a risk to their children. Additionally, aspirin and ibuprofen have well-documented adverse impacts on the fetus. So that's the FDA's response. And I mean, again, if there's studies showing correlation, if I was pregnant, I probably would try to avoid Tylenol. Now, he did come out with, Trump also talked about how the mumps, measles, rubella vaccine should all be separated and not combined into one. And it's interesting because, because I used to work with a lot of the autism population, a lot of parents think that. And a lot of parents have, and there were documentaries made about the potential link between that and how parents would take them in for that shot and then they were never the same after. And, I think parents do know their kids, and to see that, I had a good friend who was very high up in CVS who, it's for so long, all the research, oh no, that's been debunked. He didn't want to give his newborns all of those shots combined into one. He wanted to spread them out. So I don't know. Again, they were trying to debunk the fact that could be causal. And the fact that the Trump administration is like, I don't care about the research. This is what we think. Again, RFK is not messing around. He's not. Again, I have many criticisms about this administration. I do think they are the only ones that are pushing back against the pharmaceutical industries, which is interesting because they are obviously pro-billionaire, but they're definitely more pro the tech billion industries, and they're now trying to push back on the pharmaceutical industries. It's kind of fascinating. What do you think? Do you put any credence in this? I'm curious. If any of you have any strong opinions on this, please DM me at the Diet Obsessed Podcast on Instagram. I would love to hear any opinions that you have on this topic. I think it's fascinating. And that is my nutrient news of the week. All right, let's get into my healthy habits of the week. So this week, let's see. Well, we've been doing a lot of dog walks, so that's been fun. It's the weather's getting beautiful again here, so we'll definitely be able to take them for more walks, which they love. And I picked up a bunch of soups just to have easy, healthy. I got a Thai-based soup, so it's got some coconut milk and lots of vegetables. It's like a Thai curry. I think I got a lentil soup. I got a harvest chili, so it's got some pumpkin and, it's like chili based, but it has squash and all kinds of seasonal vegetables in it. So that's going to be good. What else did I get? I think I got a chicken and vegetable soup. So it's always nice to have those because they have a long shelf life. They stay sealed. And then if Mike and Kathy want something quick, they can have that. We've got lots of eggs and sourdough. I've been doing just simple egg on toast with some butter, and it's so delicious. I just love that little bit of cheese. Um, I made the most. So there's this salad dressing that I am obsessed with, and I made some. So when they fly in on this Wednesday, Chad's gonna make a pasta dish. I'm gonna make a nice salad and some garlic bread. And so I picked up all the ingredients I needed for everything yesterday. And so the salad dressing I made I love it. So it's got lemon juice, it's got Dijon mustard, it's basically just like a vinaigrette, just like a nice the difference is that what I don't normally put in there is I don't normally put fresh lemon juice in mine. I don't normally put both oregano and dried parsley in mine. I've been putting dried basil in my dressings lately because I have so much dried basil, it's insane. So I'm just trying to use some of it. But this one called for dried parsley, dried oregano, the Dijon mustard, the red wine vinegar, olive oil, some garlic, and I think that's it. I don't think, yeah, I didn't have any onion in it, but it's the best dressing ever. So make we'll have a beautiful salad. I might eat a little bit of that dressing on my salad today. I should have picked up a little bit of feta cheese. I am regretting that I didn't pick up any extra feta cheese, but anyway, got lots of black olives, so it'll be good. So we'll have that. And then, and this week I still have a little bit of salad stuff left over, and then I picked up some cilantro. I picked up a head of lettuce, and so we'll probably just make some healthy taco bowls. It's just nice to have some meat cooked, and then you can just make yourself a quick bowl, or just eat some plain taco turkey meat. It's nice high protein. I did meal prep my superfood ice cubes yesterday. So now I've refined this. So I'm refining it as I go. I'm learning from my past mistakes because the last time I made these superfood ice cubes, this is when I juice the beets and juice the lemons and oranges. So my mistake last time was doing celery. I don't think the celery is necessary. The celery doesn't have as many of the nutrients that I feel like I need to incorporate on a regular basis. Um, and there was too much pulp on the last round. I couldn't use all of it. There were some chunks that were put in there that shouldn't have put in there, that just didn't even blend well. And I was like picking them out of my mouth as I was eating my shake last time. So this time and the ginger did not taste right in this mixture. It just did not taste right. So I'm glad I'm through those. I didn't throw them away. I used all of them. But I don't know, the ginger just didn't have a nice taste in the smoothie. So this time I just did beets because beets are so healthy. The beets and the beet pulp are the most important. So I really wanted to use all of that beet pulp, and then um, just oranges and lemons because there's so much vitamin C, and I just want that vitamin C with all the nitrates in the beets. And so I think it'll taste really good. I think all that citrus with just the beets, I think is going to taste delicious. Those ice cubes I made yesterday. So yeah, so this week I'm prepared for my superfood smoothie, picked up some more shake stuff. I did get some hemp seeds, so I will be adding those back into my smoothie. And yeah, got up and got my workout out of the way. We'll be doing some hiking through Antelope Canyon, so it'll be an active week. So yeah, so those are my healthy habits of the week. I hope all of you have had some great healthy habits this week yourselves. All right, let's get into my tasty treats of the week. What now, yesterday, because I went to Trader Joe's and I picked up some pumpkin biscotti. they don't have those iced fall cookies anymore, which I'm both sad and happy about because they are like crack cocaine. They're so addictive. I love them so much. So I miss them, but it's probably good for my sugar intake that I can't find them or they're not carrying them this year. So I just got some pumpkin biscotti, which is really good. It's very crunchy and satisfying. I did pick up two little packages of cookies, like one of those cinnamon packages, and then the chocolate and icing cookies, and I can't find them. I think they did not put them in my bag, which I'm whatever. I didn't need them yesterday, to be honest, but I kind of wanted them. Anyway, I hope I didn't pay for them. I had to check my receipt. Anyway, so pumpkin biscotti was kind of my sweet thing. Although when I went to Costco, I was thinking, oh, it's about to be the weekend. Let me get some sort of treat. And I was like, it'd be nice to get, because obviously anything you get at Costco is going to be supersized. And I'm like, okay, Kathy and Mike are going to be in town, so maybe I will get some sort of, salty, crunchy chip bag or something. But I wanted the individual packaged ones so that, I didn't eat the whole bag and there was some left over for them. So Costco had this 40 bag package of, it had pirate's booty, which is not that bad for you. It's like salty, crunchy, and satisfying, and it's not like too heavy. And not too addicting too, like chips would be. So that they had that. It had Cheez-Its, which I don't know. Sometimes, like if I haven't had Cheez-Its for a long time and I've heard other people talk about how much they love Cheez-Its, that makes me want a Cheez-It. So I think I was kind of wanting them because I think I've heard somebody talk about them recently. And I'm like, yum, Cheez-Its. And then they had these famous Amos chocolate chip cookies, which my dad loved those. So of course I love them. He used to get them all the time. So kind of took me back to childhood. So they had that and then they had Rice Krispie treats. So I'm like, okay, this is a winning package. So let me get this one. Now, most of it's gone. It didn't last, I knew it would get through the weekend and there'd be some left. So there's probably, if I had to guess, there's probably like 10 to 15 bags altogether of stuff left in there. So Chad and I mean, mostly me, I worked through quite a few of them this weekend. But anyway, I knew I would. I was like, okay, this is like my treat this weekend. So I had those. And then now I talked about on my last show how when I've had something in the house, it's been sitting there, I've been seeing it, and I want to use it. So I've had these egg roll wrappers in the closet. So I had gone to this Asian store. I'd found this Asian or Chinese cookbook, and I think it was like healthy Chinese recipes. And I'd gone to this Asian store and I basically bought every single ingredient in this cookbook, which was stupid because I do have a bunch of ingredients that will probably never get used. But I've made a conscious effort to try to use as many of them as I possibly can. And so I had bought these egg roll wrappers and wonton wrappers so they're basically like rice pastry, if you will. And so they've just been in the freezer. So they haven't been opened. They've been frozen. Now I wanted to use them. I don't know. I just felt like using them yesterday. So when I was at the grocery store, I'm like, oh, let me just look up a quick recipe for egg rolls, for homemade egg rolls. So I got the ground pork. I got a head of green cabbage. I got shredded carrots, which I wanted to have for the salad this week anyway. Scallions, ginger. We had garlic. I think that was basically it. And so I got all that stuff. And I was also surprised I wanted to make something so labor intensive before my friends come into town, but for some reason I just felt like making them. And that was going to be my savory, salty treat of the day yesterday. And I was hoping that the wrappers would still be in good shape, and they were. I unthawed them, and after I made the dressing and my beet ice cubes, went so I looked up a PF Chang's egg roll knockoff recipe because I love a PF Chang's egg roll. And this recipe was perfect because it you saute the pork in a little bit of oil, and then you add in garlic and you add in the ginger, and then you add in this mixture of soy sauce, rice vinegar, sesame oil. What else was in there? Something else. Those are the main things. Then so you add those in, and then it's really, oh, and then you add in, so then you chop up a white onion, the carrots, the cabbage, then you saute that, and then you add in the scallions last. But then you have to just let the entire thing drain. So you let it completely drain and completely cool, and then you add a couple tablespoons into the sheet of the egg roll. You wrap them up, use a little bit of egg to seal them. They came out so perfect, so delicious. I mean, they tasted like a PF Chang's egg roll. I'm sorry. The only ingredient I didn't have was white pepper. And so I just used some regular pepper. But oh my God, you guys, I have to just toot my own horn. They were so, so good, so satisfying. I used a little bit of a ponzu, soy sauce, chili onion mixture to dip them in. And I probably ate 8 or 9 of them. So pigged out on those. Still have some left over for today. Yeah, so that was what I did yesterday. That was my tasty treat of the day on my Sunday when I need to indulge. So those were my tasty treats of the week. I hope all of you have had some delicious, tasty treats this week yourselves. All right, now let's get into a topic discussion. Now, I didn't do a podcast review, but I did want to talk about something behind the paywall that I don't want to talk about to my the free audience, because it has to do with stuff that's just happening at the job, which nothing bad, just something that I've noticed. So this company that I work for is one of those, big, employee focused companies. That's one of the reasons I wanted to work there. It's got lots of resources. You're going through all the different trainings and meetings, and I still have a lot of these like corporate trainings I have to complete, like the harassment and all these things. So they really follow the book for all these, corporate policies and of course, anti-discrimination, anti-harassment, all of that. And I just think it's always interesting because I'm so sensitive to like diet talk and diet culture and how it's become kind of inappropriate, right, to talk about this stuff in regular society. It's more shunned now, although we're inundated with it. Our entire society has been. And so it's also normal to hear this stuff being talked about. And so the first time I noticed it was during our training class. And some of the trainers would talk about, like one in particular was always talking about like when she allowed herself to have her diet Mountain Dew. And so she would be like trying to get X amount of water in, and she'd try to save her diet Mountain Dew for at home. And because she was talking like that, I'm like, oh, she's trying to lose weight. Like that's kind of what and she talked about it here and there. And you saw her in a video before, And she definitely had probably lost at least, I don't know, 40 pounds or so, maybe 50 pounds from where she was in the video when she had first started with the company. And and that was pretty common with a lot of the trainers. Like you would see, pictures of them from when they first started with the company, and they were much heavier in the past than where they were now. And I remember when one of the guys in my class is a fitness instructor, and he also happens to be from Maine. So we kind of clicked right away because we're both from the same area. And he'll talk about like, oh, I've already gained 10 pounds just working here. And one of the training coordinators on our call the other day was like, oh yeah, she's like, gaining the freshman 15 here is a thing. And so I kind of wanted to talk about this idea of the freshman 15 and like gaining that weight. I mean, did you gain the freshman 15 when you went to college? I did. I definitely did. And why is the freshman 15 a thing? Well, in college, obviously, I think it's, you're on your own for the first time. You're adulting for the first time. And you're suddenly in charge of making all your own food choices for the very first time, really. I mean, obviously, kids have a lot more independence. And so, they, after high school, I'm sure they're going to different grocery stores once they get their license. There's that level of independence. But I think when you're off in school, there's even that like morning, you don't have your parents, you're not eating dinner with your parents. You're not having any regular meals with your parents. And so I think that's where a lot of kids kind of rebel, and they're like, oh, well, I can eat pizza for breakfast and I can eat chocolate cake for lunch if I want to. And I can, so it's almost like this form of rebelling, but it's also like, oh, now I can eat whatever I want. And not many kids focus on their nutrition that much when they're that age. So I definitely gained that weight and eventually lost it. But when I think back to just different jobs that I had, um, like it's funny because when I started working at LA Weight Loss, that was when I first started learning about emotional eating. And I'm like, I think I started to incorporate some of that into my own lifestyle. Like I'd never really thought about the concept of emotional eating. And then when I heard all these women talking about it, I'm like, well, it's been a stressful day. I need one of those biscottis right now. And then I like binge on a whole box of biscottis. And so I don't know. It's funny because I feel like I learned a lot of good behaviors in that world in terms of portion control and eating well balanced and the importance of protein. But I was also, very influenced by people and what they eat and what they talk about. So it was very interesting then. I wouldn't say that I gained a lot of weight working there, but I still had the same up and downs, that I always do. But when I worked for Equinox, which was fitness and health club, right? All the salespeople, they would talk about gaining a lot of weight when they first started because um, you know, there was a lot of pressure, right? It was a sales position and they had to like hit goal. And during closeout, people, all the managers would just bring all this junk food in, and it would be like a big eating time. They'd work 12 hours, 15 hours trying to close those sales and eating candy to get through the day. And the reality is if you choose to eat all that stuff and then you don't take advantage of the fact that you work in a gym and you can literally just go right upstairs and work that off, of course you're going to gain weight, right? So I think that yes, that happened, but it's a conscious decision to allow that to happen. I was not in that same environment where I had to be in that office hitting my goal. I was lucky I was a regional manager so I could kind of be in and out. but I also was very conscious of the fact that that company wasn't, I mean, they paid decent, but it wasn't this huge income. But it was one of those things where I recognized that one of the perks of working there is the fact that you can go take a group fitness class, is the fact that you work in a health club and should be able to get your workout in too. So I was conscious about making time for that. And also it was very much, I mean, all my jobs have been very image based, right? It's that environment was very, everybody was in good shape, and that was a very image based role, I would say. So as far as, gaining a lot of weight there, that again, that never really happened to me there specifically. And I wouldn't say, but it was a topic that was talked about, and it would happen to some people. And I do think that, I mean, there's been times that I've talked about here where, oh, okay, I'm just going to focus on business, and I do work out a little bit less. Um, there's been periods that I've done that. And then I realize what a toll on my mental health that's going to take, because I do gain weight if I don't work out on a regular basis. And if I'm not taking care of myself, I realize I don't perform as well. So I think I did that more in the past, and I think that that's a tendency that people have, is to just throw themselves into that job, throw themselves into this culture of, oh, working excess hours, and indulging in all these things. And especially if your manager's bringing you all this free food, it's like, oh yeah, I'll have that. And oh, okay, no one's working out. Okay, yeah, it's the freshman 15. We're gonna gain it because we're trying to hit our goals. And so I think people fall into that kind of culture that can happen, and if they allow themselves to. And so what I've noticed with this company, and I think I'm especially noticing it now because, again, I've been outside of that kind of corporate world for a long time, for over a decade, working my own company and just kind of being in my own world. Now that I'm back in this corporate world, I'm realizing how much they use food as a reward, which, look, there's a lot of health influencers out there that talk about how food shouldn't be used as a reward. What are we, like, that we're teaching our children wrong things by using food as a reward? I understand what they're saying with that, but I maybe, and maybe it's because I was raised with food as a reward. I love food as a reward. I do. I really do. It is one of my favorite ways to be rewarded. And again, I was raised that way, so I feel that way. And I while I understand why it can be toxic and not a good thing in our society, I do like that as a reward. With that said, I'm also very conscious of the fact that, like, I had this thought the other day. I'm like, wow, I could really gain a lot of weight easily if I allowed myself to. Like, if I was, because I'm working so much, it has been more challenging to fit a workout in. Like, I have to be really structured and really focused with making time for it, squeezing it, even if I only have 10 minutes one day, doing something that is definitely going to impact me because I'm sitting so much. I move around in the morning with my training clients, but then I'm sitting behind a computer from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. pretty much, sometimes later. So I have started doing those squats. But, so the other day I get this, and again, this is all such nice, it's so nice. But one of the training coordinators talked about how people gain the freshman 15 here. And I'm understanding why. So the cafeteria food is all they do have the salad bar, like I mentioned, but there's pizza. I mean, they give us free ice cream almost every single day. Now, there's one day they do free salads. So that's a good thing that they do. That's on Mondays, which I don't pretty much ever go there on Mondays. Fridays, free pizza. They do free ice cream pretty much every single day. Um, but like I saw this thing the other day where they were rewarding everybody with nothing but cakes. Those bundt cakes, they're so sugary and so heavy. And the girl that I was training with, she's like, "Oh, I already had one. Okay, I can have another one." And she like grabs another one. And I walk into the training room the other day, and or the workspace. We have this big office, and there's cupcakes sitting in the middle of the room just up for grabs. And I'm at my desk the other day eating my free ice cream, and one of the trainers walks by with cake. She's like, "Anybody want cake?" I'm like, I'm eating ice cream right now. I'm like, I don't need cake too. And they're looking at me like, "Are you crazy? You're saying no to cake even though you have ice?" I'm like, "Yes, it's too much sugar. During the week, I just don't want that much sugar." That's when I try to limit my sugar intake. So, and it's interesting because I also, of course, I'm diet obsessed. I love watching what other people are eating too. And a lot of people are younger than me that are training, that are working with me. And so a lot of the people that have sat next to me, like in my training group, were, in their 20s, and I'm watching them eat donuts for breakfast, and they'll have french fries and a fried chicken sandwich for lunch, and I'm just like, wow. I'm like, they're just eating all the indulgent things all during the week. And and I just noticed that was, part of just people would eat those really indulgent things for lunch because it's in the cafeteria. They're getting the burger and fries, and it's just something that I'm fascinated because, I'm sitting there eating my carrot and my nuts because I want to eat. Again, it's how I balance my energy, right? I do my indulgent things more on the weekends than during the week. So I'm fascinated by people who just eat a little bit more, carefree. And again, maybe that's my disordered mind thinking that, oh, that's only weekend food. It's not. People can do what they want. It's just, again, it's my habits and what I do. And I know that if I was eating that way during the week, it would be, I don't know, I think it would carry on a little bit further into the night for me. And again, it just wouldn't work for me. But I think everybody has their own way of doing things. And it's all interesting. Um, but do you work in an office, or do you work in an environment where the culture is to constantly feed? I do know that I have a couple nurses in my audience, and nurses were some of my, almost like a number one weight loss client, were nurses. And I remember my dad, when we were being born, he would bring the nurses all kinds of donuts and stuff. And I think that a lot of people, I think that's a culture in healthcare, is it's a really stressful environment, especially if you're in hospital. And then people are always bringing in treats because it's like that kind of escape during the day where you can like eat that donut or eat that cupcake, and it's that sugar rush and something to look forward to. So I don't know. It's, one of the girls in our training class at the end of training one of them brought in donuts. Another one had made these apple strudel cookies, and I could not say no. I ate one of the apple strawberry or strudel cookies. I ate a donut. The donuts were so good. I mean, so it is hard for me to say no to some of these things they're free, they're there. I love sugar. And I did have this thought. I'm like, wow, I'm going to need to really be conscious of moving a little bit more or balancing a little bit more if I'm eating all the sugar, all these delicious, delectable things during the day that are just provided constantly by this company. And they do have options where you can choose well. But it's again, and I think it's can be a stressful environment. It's constant, you're on, it's go, go, go. So again, I think they want to like do nice things for their people and reward them. And so this is just the way they do that. So I'm mark my words, I am not going to gain the Freshman15 here. I'm going to monitor my own behaviors and, be accountable for my own behaviors, but be very conscious of doing the squats in between. Just because I'm sitting, like my ass hurts at the end of the day because I'm sitting too much. So that's not good. So I do need to, I will say, the desk that they have in the office is a stand-up desk. So you can stand. It's just that my feet don't do well I don't do well being on my feet either. So I'm a piece of work. I really like to just lay in bed. But get my movement in between. So I'm very excited for mid-November when I get my formal schedule, because I'm really hoping to get a 4-day-a-week schedule, 4/10s. They'll be very long days, but if I can just have that extra day to do a podcast, get my grocery shopping done, like do all that stuff, still have my Saturdays to do my training and see Chad, and then another day where I can do whatever, that will be perfect for me. So we're almost there. This month, this was the biggest thing I was worried about, is fitting this extra podcast in on the week that my friends were visiting. So I'm glad I'm getting it done today. So the next show, I will have a recap of Antelope Canyon. I will try to share some of those pictures and videos. And until we meet again, I hope all of you have a very balanced week. And thank you for supporting the show. I appreciate all of you.